Hello everyone, welcome to Piano Video Lessons, Beginner Piano Lessons, Lesson 12. In today's lesson, this is actually the last lesson of our Beginner Piano Video Lessons, and we're going to be learning about chords. We have been playing scales and playing pentascales and talking about triads, and now it's time to learn a little bit more, get a bigger understanding of what chords are. So this is actually a reboot of a lesson that I did on chords about a year and a half ago, and that video has about nearly almost 500,000 views already, if you can believe it. So hopefully I do that lesson justice today. But what we're going to be doing first, in order to talk about chords, is first we need to know what they are. So a chord is three notes that are played, three or more notes that are played at the same time. So we could play a chord here, or we could play a chord here, or we could play a chord here. These are all chords. So when we play chords, we're always just following a simple rule. And the rule is, for whatever note you start on, the next notes that follow will skip over keys. So here we are, skipping over keys. So this makes a chord. Now the only tricky thing about chords is ensuring that they use the right notes for the key that you're in. So if we were playing in the key of C, then we would have the notes, of the scale C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And so that's just your C scale. Sounds like this. If you need more understanding about scales, you can check back in lesson 11. So in order to make a chord now, what we need to do is play a note starting on the root. So C as the root. Now to play this chord, we're going to skip a note and skip another note. So we're going to end up playing these three keys: C, skip to E, skip to G. So that is a chord. It's a C chord. It is a C chord because C is on the bottom, the root of the chord is C, and it's in the key of C because it uses only notes from the key of C. So here we have C, E, and G, and you can see that they skip on the piano keys. So this is called the 1 chord in the key of C. So I'll put a Roman numeral 1 down here. Let's now make another chord in the key of C. Let's go to the 5th note. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5th note in the key of C is G. So here we have G. G is going to become the root of our chord. So now we're going to skip a note and play a note, skip a note and play a note. And here we have a G chord. So to play a G chord, we start off with the root note G, and then we skip A and play B, and then we skip C and play the next note, which is D. So a G chord is written like this, GBD, and played on the piano here. We could play it here, we could play it here. These are all G chords. So it's a G chord because the root of the chord is the note G. And it is the 5 chord of the key of C. So the G chord is the 5 chord in the key of C. Let's make another chord. Let's build a chord with a root F. So if G is the 5 chord, what do you think F is? Right, it's the 4 chord. And so now we can start with a root of F and skip a note and skip a note. So the 3 notes we need to play an F chord in the key of C are F, A, and C. So F, A, and C are the 3 notes of the F chord. And this is an F chord. It's in the key of C because it only uses white keys. It only uses the notes from C major. And it is the 4 chord in the key of C. Great. The 3 chords that I've just shown you are called the primary chords. And they're called the primary chords probably because we play them a lot. And in fact, they all have a cheerful sound. They all sound what we call major. And there are other chords here in the key of C that do not sound as cheerful, and they're these ones. You can see that they have a darker sort of mood to them compared to a chord like this one. This one sounds more uplifting. This one sounds more somber. So let's go ahead and build that chord, and it starts here on A. So the root of the chord is A, and then we'll play up a skip, which is the third of the chord, and up a skip to the fifth of the chord. And here we can play it. This is an A chord. It is in the key of C. It's an A minor chord. And we know it's in the key of C because it only uses white keys. And in the key of C, we only play white keys. We could play an A chord like this, but this uses a black key. And this chord is A major. It is not in the key of C. This is A minor. Sounds more somber, a little darker, and it is in the key of C. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a 6 chord, and we're going to write it in lowercase because it's got a minor sound. All right, let's build another chord. Let's build one that starts on D. So we're going to have D as our root, and then what? You guessed it. We're going to skip to the third and skip to the fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Play it. And you can hear already that this chord, this D chord, using D and F and A, has a very sad, dark sound. So do you think this is major or minor? This D chord in the key of C. It is minor. And so it is the 2 chord, again, lowercase 2 because it has a minor sound. And then we're going to play this chord. So here it is, E. Here's E on the piano. And we're going to skip and skip to find our notes. So we're going to have G and B. And let me just fill these in. Now I'm going to play it for you. Here we go. E, G, B. Again, a minor sound. So this is the 3 chord. I'll write it in lowercase. And these 3 red chords, which I have written, are called the secondary chords. And when we play secondary chords in major keys, they always have a minor sound. Now there's just one note left, and it is a B. And let me just see here. I'm going to change colors, and I'm going to use green. And I'll find a B in the piano. Now to build this chord, we are going to do exactly the same thing that we've done before, which is skip a note, skip another note. We're staying on white keys because in the key of C we don't have any black keys. And here we have it. Now this one has a little edge to it. This one is not major or minor. This one is called diminished. So when you play a diminished chord, it has more of a dissonant sound, and we can write it with a lowercase, but we put a little circle after it like this. That's the symbol for diminished. So here I'm going to play the B diminished, and you can hear that it does have a slight edge to it. Now the reason that this happens is because of the distance between the notes. So if I'm playing the 1 chord, you can see that between the first 2 notes here, I've skipped over 3 keys. So from C to E, I skipped 3 keys. Now if I go to my next blue chord, my next major chord, I'm going to go to F. And you see I've skipped 3 keys. And I could go to G, and same thing, I've skipped 3 keys. So now let's try A. Let's compare. You can hear the first 2 notes, I've only skipped 2 keys. So this is minor, and it skips 2 keys. Now let's see how many we skipped at the top. Now we have 3 at the top. So now let's go to D, skip 2, skip 3. E, skip 2, skip 3. Now let's check out B. Skip 2, skip 2. So this is why this one has a different sound. Now when you play these chords in music, you can play them with your right hand or with your left hand. And we can say that they're in root position if we have the root letter on the bottom. So here I'm playing C chord in root position. And I could just play a single note in my left hand. There's a C in the octave. So now I'm playing a C chord. And I could go to a D chord. And my left hand is just following, moving up to the note that is the root of the chord. I might as well finish this because I started it. But this is just up the scale, playing every chord. There's that diminished. You can really feel like it's got a lot of tension. I think it needs a massage. All right, so here we have all of the chords. Now, if I was going to improvise a melody using chords, I could play a 1 chord. Now let's go to a 4 chord. Now let's go to a 5 chord, a 4 chord, a 1 chord. So I just moved my hand in the chord positions and improvised a little melody. If I use the minor chords, I could do the same thing. I could start on a 1 chord. I'm just playing only the chord notes. Now let's go to 3. Now let's go to 6. And now let's go to 2. And then let's go to 3. All right, so you can see that chords are just bigger units of music than single melody notes, and it's how composers create harmony in music. If a chord is not in root position, it could be in an inversion. And an inversion just means that the note that's played at the very bottom is a different one of these notes. So instead of having C at the bottom in my C chord, I could have E at the bottom. You can see that that creates a little bit more direction. Or I could even put the G at the bottom. So my right hand has just played the C triad in root position the whole time, but I changed the note on the bottom. Let's try that with the D chord. So I'm keeping the 3 notes in regular position in the right hand. First I'll play the root on the bottom. Now I'm going to move to F on the left. Now I'm going to move to A. Now, unlikely you would do just that in music, but I'm just demonstrating to you that when you play a chord, you don't always have to play it in root position. You can change it around. So I could even change it with the right hand. I could play C, E, G here, or I could take this C, I could move it to the top. Or I could take this E and move it to the top. And if I did it one more time, then I would end up back in root position, but up higher. So these are different concepts involving chords, which will take you a little bit further in music theory. And so now we're going to just have a look at the sheet here where we've got the introduction to chords written. So what we're going to do is we're going to name the chords in the key of C. So we have the C chord, the D chord, the E chord, F chord, the G chord, the A chord, and the B chord. And we can write the Roman numerals for these. So I'm going to use blue to write 1, 4, and 5 underneath these primary chords. And I'm going to use red because that's what I was using before. And then I'm even going to grab green to write this diminished chord here. And then we can build them. So the C chord was C, E, G. The D chord was D, F, A. The E chord was E, G, B. The F chord was F, A, C. The G chord was G, B, D. The A chord was A, C, E. And the B diminished was B, D, F. So there are all the notes in the chords. And then over here it asks you what are the primary chords in the key of C. So the 1 chord, which is C, the 4 chord, which is F, and the 5 chord, which is G. And what are the secondary chords? The 2 chord, which is D, the 3 chord, which is E, and the 6 chord, which is A. And these secondary chords are all minor because they skip 2 and then 3. And these primary chords are all major because they skip 3 and then 2. All right, so that is a quick lesson on what chords are and how they're formed. And so that concludes the beginner piano lessons. And now if you're ready to continue on, you can check out my note reading crash course. I'm sure you've heard all about it, but in 15 lessons, I will teach you all of the notes one by one on the staff and where they're found on the piano, and I'll teach you to write them. And yeah, it's a great way to learn all of your notes. So please check that out. All of the printable materials that you've seen here today are available at pianovideolessons.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in another video.